Could you please state your name so I can pronounce it properly?
Yes, of
And your
course.
background?
Yes. I am Alexandra Pascalidou. And my background, I am of Greek origin. I live in Sweden since 45 years. I'm a journalist, author, playwright. I do many things.
Thank you so much. So, can you please tell us your story? What happened? What's your experience with social media?
Yes, of course. And I wrote it down because it's easier for me, if I may. Thank you so much. So, Your Honors, it's really an honor to be here today, but I wish I had nothing to say on this subject. Your black-haired pig. If you don't leave the country within 24 hours, we will kill you and your family. I was a 9-year-old nobody when this letter arrived in our home, a Greek girl who had come to Sweden at the age of 6. The anonymous threat was addressed to my father, a migrant working in a hospital. Neither of my parents were educated or politically active. We lived in the poorest, most segregated and stigmatized suburb in Sweden. A home without books, without newspapers, without a voice. My mother told us kids to hide under the kitchen table while she took the bus to the police station. We were so petrified we didn't even dare to go to the bathroom, and we whispered to each other, asking, why would someone want to kill us? What have we done? I will never forget my mother's face when she returned. I will never forget her words. Words that I would hear again and again throughout my life. The police said, there is nothing they can do. The letter is anonymous. From that moment on, I lived knowing that nameless hatred could kill me, could kill us simply because we were different. And I am grateful today and privileged to work as a journalist in Sweden, as one of the first with a migrant and working class background. But from my first day at work 30 years ago, I was met both with appreciation and adversity. But it was the threats and the hatred that left the deepest scars. Words used as weapons. You're a dirty migrant whore. You're bloody gypsy. You're Jewish slut. You're Muslim or Greek or anything, a parasite. You're psycho witch. You're ugly liar. You're hater. I wake up to verbal violence. I fall asleep with racist and sexist rage ringing in my ears. And this is not just harassment. This is warfare. They order me to go back home, to die. They threaten to shoot me, silence me, break me piece by piece. They threaten me with gang rapes and sexual torture. They spread lies and slander. They send email to my editors demanding my firing, humiliate and harass me. And I have been doxxed, trolled, cyberbullied, gaslighted. I have been the target of hate speech, brigading, dogpiling, impersonation. I have been cyber-stalked, threatened with swatting, and watched as deep fake attacks spread lies about me. My words have been twisted, my reality questioned, my existence deemed a provocation. This is the digital warfare we face, where online vitriol turns into real-life violence. And what has been the message from the Swedish authorities? We can't help. The threats are anonymous. But keep quiet. Mask yourself. Change your route to work. The only time the police acted on a death threat was after I hosted a Christmas show on national TV. And just my presence, my existence was enough to provoke armed and masked Nazis to gather outside my home. The photos were published in Sweden's biggest newspaper, and yet the police still said, we can't protect you, maybe you should move. you should leave the country for a while. I ended up in a hospital in Gambia. And when I returned, I lost my job as a TV host because my editor told me that my colleagues were afraid. They put me in quarantine. They removed me from the screen so as not to provoke the Nazis. And just like that, the Nazis and the racists won. They silenced me, they erased me. And as a freelance journalist, you're even more vulnerable. You don't belong anywhere, nobody has your back, nobody protects you the next day. And hatred has a spillover effect. You become the problem, not the perpetrator. And suddenly, nobody wants to hire you. I have lost jobs because of hate speech and smear campaigns. I have been told by editors that hiring me is asking for trouble. A couple of weeks ago only, I wrote a simple column about taking a sabbatical and study abroad, only to be met with a tsunami of hatred on the magazine's Facebook page. When I was interviewed on national TV in a talk show about my career, I was celebrated there, and only to be questioned and accused of being too biased to be a journalist because I dared to criticize the second biggest party in Sweden, which is a racist party with Nazi roots. This is how fascism creeps in. Not with a bang, but with a shrug. With a normalization of hate so insidious that it becomes a career risk to oppose it. And I know I am not alone. But this pattern of silencing is not limited to individuals like me. It stretches to the highest level of powers. Today, we see world leaders, Musks, Trumps, Putins, Netanyahus, mocking and dismantling the very institutions meant to protect us. They normalize sexism and racism. They profit from polarization. They demonize those who dare to resist. In Sweden, even members of parliament have publicly harassed me. A Swedish MP once called me your black-haired trash on Twitter. Weeks later, a man on a plane screamed those exact words at me. Nobody said a word. When I tweeted about the incident, I was accused of making it up, of lying. A man even claimed to be on the same flight until I asked him what I was wearing, and he couldn't answer, which was revealing because I was wearing a huge pink coat. Gaslighting has become the weapon of the age. Words are weapons, and words lead to actions. Last month, a Swedish man entered a school where most of the students were migrants and brutally murdered 10 people. And still, no one called him a terrorist because he was a blue-eyed and blonde Swede. And the media tried to silence those who pointed out his ties to far-right pages. And the same pattern we saw when Anders Behring Breivik killed 77 people in Norway. The same with the Swedish terrorist who stabbed 3 people in a school. These men don't exist in a vacuum. They are radicalized by the viral vitriol spreading online before they act offline. And their goal is our silence. They want censorship disguised as freedom of speech. Their freedom becomes our prison. And even if I block and mute and report and delete, after a while, you start censoring yourself. Fear is toxic, and it's paralyzing not only you, but also the people around you. Eventually, you internalize it, you blame yourself, and at some point, you even start hating yourself. It is also hard to be a single mom when you're a target. When my daughter, Melina, was 8 years old, she asked me, "Mom, somebody at school said that there are people who hate you and they want to kill you. What have you done to them? I didn't want to tell her that some of them had also threatened to kidnap and rape her. I didn't tell her that millions of girls and women worldwide struggle to survive verbal assaults. I didn't tell her that many have been forced to resign from social media, a space that was supposed to be a democratic arena that has become a multiplier of misogyny and misanthropy. I didn't tell her that we, as women, are at risk simply for existing, for speaking, for demanding what should be given in Europe 2025. So I lied to her. I consoled her, telling her that we live in a peaceful, solid democracy and that there is nothing to fear but fear itself. And then I quoted the great Swedish author Astrid Lindgren, who wrote, "There are things one must do even if they are dangerous. Otherwise, one is not a human being, but merely a little piece of dirt." We cannot wait for tech billionaires and oligarchs to grow a conscience. We cannot wait for politicians to act out of the kindness of their hearts. So what must we do? Social media platforms must be held accountable. Hate cannot be their business model. They must remove threats, deplatform extremists, and stop profiting from violence. Governments must enforce real consequences. Hate speech is not free speech. It is a weapon, and it must be disarmed. Newsrooms must protect journalists and embrace diversity. A democracy with silenced, censored, self-censored journalists is no democracy at all. We must support those on the front lines. We must build solidarity. The only thing that can defeat organized hate is organized resistance. Support, amplify, and defend one another. We must never retreat. If they tell us to shut up, we must speak louder. If they try to scare us into submission, we must stand taller. Democracy should be a verb, because it demands daily action from us all. We are still more than them. We are more who believe in freedom and justice than those who profit from oppression. And we will not surrender. We will write. We will speak. We will fight. And we will win, because we must.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have questions?
Yeah, thank you so much for your appalling story. I just have one question, because we are running out late. Can you please specify which were the social media platforms they were using to attack you?
Well, mostly I would say is Twitter. I would say it is the most toxic social media. And as a journalist and author and playwright, I work with so many different things that I need to reach out with and communicate. So I'm still there, even if many of my colleagues have left it. And then it is Facebook, I would say, and some now and then on Instagram, not as much as other platforms.
Thank you so much. No further questions.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
I admire your courage. You make Greece proud, and thank you for this shattering testimony. No questions.
Thank you.
Does the panel have questions? Any questions? No question?
No, I just have one question. As regards social media companies, when they conduct, in certain countries, they conduct due diligence, they are asked to put up mandatorily their policies on the web is one aspect, and they also warn the users not to put this hate speech or other kind of criminal content. But what in your experience and your view is the practice when it comes to, even before somebody has complained of a particular for a blocking of a page, supposedly there's sexist comment on it, and you want to take down, is there any where you've seen or read or heard a due diligence practice wherein even before you've informed the portal or the media about it, the social media company itself removes the content? Is there any practice of
No,
this
there
sort
is
ever?
no practice like that, and it is very, very strange to see. In fact, that even on Twitter and on Facebook, they have like very clear messages saying that people should kill me, and there are instructions also how to kill me. And I have saved. I had like a PowerPoint that I prepared for you today, and or how they organize when they know that I'm at a book fair or outside the theater. So they organize and they invite each other on Facebook in order to come and surround me at the theater or outside the TV studio or where I had been, or like demonstrating with my face on their placards or whatever you call them. So and even when I report, when they say like kill her, use that gun, do what you did with Olof Palme, the former prime minister of Sweden, that Jewish whore, they just use any words. So I report. Sometimes I even tell others to report. So I share it. I'm like, hello, can you please help me? But nothing happens. Instead, it has happened to me that I have been hacked, I have been shadow banned, because what they do also, these racists and far-right and Nazis, they organize and they report your page only to silence you. And I haven't written anything straight.
So when you raise your grievance to the grievance redressal cell, they do nothing about it. That's what you're saying?
No, they do nothing.
They would
about
not take down the content.
No,
They would not block the account.
No, they do not block the account. I can block the account. I can use the
Yes.
and I do that.
But they don't stop the account altogether. Neither they take down those relevant pages which have, maybe the accounts themselves were not completely, putting illegal content. There could be other way that they were initially initiated only to create this, criminal activity. It could also be that there are only few pages which target you from that account, and therefore at least the takedown of those pages becomes very important. When you raise a complaint, they do nothing according to you. Right.
No, nothing. That is like, I don't know. And the worst part of this is, as I told you, I'm not lying. Even in this room, we're many. But the thing is that after a while, you just try to avoid reading, which means we don't report as much as we should. We should also mobilize somehow, but you give up. You just give up because you see no reaction, no response from the social media platforms.
I have a different question for you.
Sorry, yes.
Not the media companies, but you said early on that you complained to the police. And
Yes.
you said you complained to the authorities.
Exactly.
And they did nothing.
Nothing.
What did you think that the police or the government authorities should have done?
Yeah, the police, they say the last couple of years, I've been invited to the Swedish police force to give speeches on threats against journalists. And they have declared that they will prioritize threats against journalists, as it is like a very, very fundamental thing in a democracy. And still, nothing has happened.
No, so my question is, what do you think the police or the authorities could do that they aren't yet doing?
Take our report seriously. I mean, I even found myself when Swedish Nazis threatened to kill me and cooperating with Greek Nazis, and I'm pointing to you, Mr. The Golden Dawn. They had somehow a cooperation, and I found the addresses. So the police didn't need to do much. I even found myself the address and the people, you know what I mean? But they didn't do anything. They were like, yeah, we don't have any more to So it's
So do you
you
think there
approach-
was, excuse me, do you think there was criminal activity that the police should have
Of course.
arrested
Of
people
course.
and prosecuted people?
yes, of
You do.
course they should have done that.
Okay.
But it's like they don't take it as serious as they should.
Did you approach the court?
If I approach that,
If you approach your national court?
no.
Oh, okay.
No, I just went to the police, but since then, I'm telling you, and the most of the people I know, we have given up. We don't even go to the police anymore.
I think she's
with
saying, do you
threats.
bring a lawsuit?
A
Do you try
lawsuit.
to sue the
Yes.
companies or the individuals? Have you brought
Did
any
you-
lawsuits?
No, we don't do these things in Sweden. We're like, yeah, okay. We trust police and
Okay, all right.
we don't sue each
And
other.
they failed to take action?
Yes, and I know it's a mistake not to really take action, but that is the most dominant feeling. You feel so frustrated, and also my lawyer, and he also used to be the Minister of Justice, he said to me, don't pay too much attention, don't give them exposure, don't give them the power. So I have been advised not to bother. You know what I mean? Even from people that I trust and that I admire and that I do that. So they are like, no, just, I have been thinking so many times that I should, take it to the next step.
All right.
And as I mentioned, the only time we went to court, and even the highest court in Sweden, and even the European court, was when I was lucky enough not to be the only one that was threatened when they came to my home with masks and with guns. But they also threatened the spokesperson of the Swedish police force, a white man. That was the only one, the only time when something happened to these threats.
We thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.